Fiji trade delegation in town to resolve a trade impasse. A call to train more PNG eye doctors. And Hiri Queen crowning this weekend in this year's Hiri Moale Festival.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and welcome to Monday's news. Officials from Fiji's Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism and Biosecurity Authority are in Port Moresby to meet with their PNG counterparts to iron out issues between both countries regarding oxen palm and other PNG-made commercial products. The meetings, which started this morning, will include visits and technical assessments of Paradise Foods in Port Moresby, Hugo Canning on the outskirts of the city, and Truka Industries in Lae.
After weeks of back and forth sparking a trade impasse, Fiji and Papua New Guinea have met to resolve the issue of biosecurity pathways and to discuss other trade issues that can facilitate bilateral trade. Early last month, Minister for Trade, Commerce and Industry Richard Maru warned Fiji that PNG would halt Fijian products from entering the market because of unfair trade deals. The trade war between both countries dates back to 2004, when PNG first tried to export oxen palm products to Fiji. However, the Fijian government of the day insisted on protecting its own product, while PNG had allowed Fiji's island beef and other Fijian products to flood its markets. To this day, PNG products, which include oxen palm, Truka rice and other PNG-made products, are still not allowed to enter Fiji's market, despite requests for an open trade.
To convey clearly to my colleague in Fiji and your government, that the PNG government is extremely keen to conclude the MSG 3. So we don't want this small impasse to be a blockage or a hindrance to the greater step we need to take as the MSG sub-regional trading bloc.
The meetings, which will culminate with visits to selected manufacturing facilities like Paradise Food for biscuits, Hugo Canning for oxen palm corned beef, and Truka Industries in Lae for rice, will serve as an opportunity for the Fijian delegates to witness how the products are made and packaged and to settle their concerns about biosecurity issues. According to Minister Maru, as the two biggest countries party to the Melanesian Spearhead Group, it is better for all involved if this minor issue was settled and both countries came to an understanding.
Because we are determined to have more of your trade missions here, and we would like to come to the Bula country too and bring our goods and our products over to Fiji. And that's why this dialogue over the next 3 days is very important to us as well. And I want to assure you of every support of our government and our team, and we look forward to the positive conclusion of your work and the outcomes that we all desire. We want free trade in the islands and in the MSG area.
Leon Jarari, National EMTV News.
The public curator, Jacob Popuna, says his office is working to help families repossess their homes lost through fraudulent deals. The public curator's office has given 2 properties in Lae back to families who lost the title after the title holder passed away. The houses belong to the National Housing Corporation. Bethany Herriman with this report.
Many of the cases being handled by the public curator is in court. There are 38 cases in Lae alone, 50 in Port Moresby, and it is a growing concern around the country. The problem has stemmed because people who own properties don't write wills before they die. The public curator, Jacob Popuna, says fraudsters are taking advantage.
The titles here was transferred to a company of a property here at Eruku for 45,000 kina only, and the title has been transferred. So we have fought for it on behalf of the beneficiary and the widows, and we eventually got it back, cancelled the title, and we now valued it, and the property is now today we are signing it and selling it for 1,050,000.
The public curator says the land and houses always in question when someone dies has been those owned by the National Housing Corporation, And it's no surprise, the NHC has been plagued with allegations of corruption and mismanagement.
Some former staff who have been collaborating with the people who were intending to purchase, and that's how they've transferred to those people.
The Public Curator's office in Lae showed EMTV 2 properties, the ownership being battled out in court. 2 different streets in Eriku, this one at the Casuarina Avenue claimed by a company, and this one at the Hibiscus Avenue claimed by a third party.
This plan house plo mi plan ben stop lo hem. Papa ben work on top education office na mi plan ben stop this la house. 3-bedroom house.
Miti Tali and her family lived at Casuarina Avenue. Until her father passed away, the property was going to be passed on to the brother, but he too passed away. The Public Curator's office in Lae has repossessed the property and is assisting Miti, who has become the beneficiary. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Lae.
Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil says the government should look into building roads and bridges in economical districts in the country as they contribute to the national government's revenue. Basil's comment follows the recent announcement by the government to upgrade the 89 million Kina East Cape Road in the Milne Bay province.
Basil says it is better to put more effort into maintaining roads and other infrastructure like bridges into resource districts. They are generating the much-needed tax for the government. Basil says the 110-kilometer Lae Bulolo road that starts from the 9 Mile Road junction to Bulolo station is an economic highway.
The government is right in putting new highways and roads, but isn't it right to make sure that we put proper infrastructures to resource-rich districts where they are generating the much-needed tax for the government to run this country?
Bulolo district is home to big corporate companies like Morobe Mining Joint Venture or MMJV, PNG Forest Products, and Jinek Chicken, who have been paying corporate tax since their establishment. Basil made the comments in light of the recent announcement of the sealing of a new road in Milne Bay province. The rehabilitation of the East Cape Road is funded through a World Bank credit of 338 million Kina, with additional core financial support from the Australian government. It is part of the World Bank's Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Project 2 of restoring key national roads across Papua New Guinea. The project will include the sealing of the road and improvements to 6 existing bridges, as well as the drainage systems. Koilala MP William Sam, who is an engineer by profession, believes the Lae Bulolo highway will cost an average of 100 million Kina.
I think 100 million is not a big ask. We need to bite the bullet, put it there. Having said that, we need to also acknowledge Australian government's contribution to...
Matalubis, National EMTV News, Lae.
A slip rule and stay applications for Kandep MP Don Pollier was adjourned to tomorrow for hearing. Pollier filed these applications after a 3-man Supreme Court bench gave a standing order on an election petition for a recount of ballot boxes for the Kandep open seat. Parties involved will prepare short extracts to assist the 1-man Supreme Court bench to follow right procedures.
Pollier's lawyer, Payam Doa, told Justice Alan David that he had 3 applications. One was the leave application. If granted, the court will hear the slip rule application. The third is the stay application. Justice David was a member of the 3-man Supreme Court bench who directed for the recount of the Kandep seat. This matter came before Justice Stephen Kasman last week and was adjourned to today for fixed hearing. Justice Kasman did not have the jurisdiction to hear the matter as he was not a member of the 3-man bench who ordered the recount. Today, Justice David told the parties that he won't hear the applications. He said he can grant leave to hear the slip rule application, but the stay application needs to go before a full court. Justice David asked the parties to file proper submissions for court's consideration. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
Submissions on the sentencing of Western Governor Ati Wobiro and his two co-accused were made this afternoon before Justice Martin Ipang at the Waigani National Court. The three were found guilty of conspiracy to defraud the state and the misappropriation of over 7 million kina to set up the Flycare Foundation in 2015. Their lawyer submitted that they were found guilty of charges that were not serious and asked that their sentence be suspended and they be placed on good behavior bonds. However, the state lawyer objected to the submissions, saying the three are not respecting the decision of the court or showing any remorse for their actions. A decision on their sentence will be handed down after all submissions are considered by Justice Ipang. Still to come on National EMTV News, the call for specialist eye doctors, Hiri Moale Festival, and Day 2 of the Looking PNG Now Expo. Stay tuned for details. Welcome back. More young doctors need to be attracted to become specialists in eye care. Deputy Health Secretary Dr. Paisen Dakulala says the training of ophthalmologists is important to meet the country's strategic health plan for one doctor in each provincial hospital. The challenge now to fill in the missing gaps with numbers.
Although ophthalmology may not be a specialty area where many young graduates may lean towards, but it's important to meet National Health Service standards.
And so bottom line, we need to attract enough number of specialists or doctors to get into this field and be trained.
There's a shortage in the number of graduates from Papua New Guinea's only medical school and the key lecturers needed to provide training. At present, PNG's health sector is served by only 13,000, which is less than the required 60,000.
Just in the general broader sense, that's the bottom line. We don't have the numbers to get to train to be ophthalmologists. Even if we did have, let's say, 5 to start off the training, by the end of it all, you will have with 1 or 2 that will be left.
However, Dr. Dakulala says capacity can be increased with the adequate funding support from the government.
Is to look at the gaps and then see how, with budget support and help, get from outside the people who will come in, trained specialists, eye doctors, etc., who can come in and help support the gap.
Health partners like the Pratt Hollows Foundation were also thanked for the continuous support.
And so we appreciate that, and there are many other such foundations or partners that come in to help in this particular area.
Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
Deputy Health Secretary says that more medical training is healthy for Papua New Guinea. The medical training administered by Divine Word University has been acknowledged and as an opportunity to address the health needs of the country. Dr. Dakulala says such opportunities must be supported.
Divine Word University, and that's one university that's now coming up and taking on board the medical training, and that's also one opportunity or area we can look at as we progress through.
The 2016 Hiri Moale Festival is once again expected to lure crowds in the nation's capital this weekend. Starting off the celebrations is the Hiri Hanenamo, leading up to the crowning of the Hiri Queen at the main event. A total of 20 young women from along the Motu Koita villages are vying for this year's crown.
The first judging of the 2016 Hiri Hanenamo took place today at the Nature Park. 20 traditionally attired young women from Motu Koita villages, including Roku, Mirigini, Koderika, Elevala, Tubuseria, Araira, Porebada, Tatana, and Boira, are in the race for the Hiri Queen crown. The crowning event is one of the highlights of the Hiri Moale Festival, which celebrates the traditions and cultures of the traditional landowners of Port Moresby.
But this event is to remind us, the Motu and the Koitabu people, what we used to do during the olden days, the traditional, voyage. It brings us to this date where, we still have remind ourselves that we still have a tradition to remember we still have our cultural heritage that we have to maintain in this modern life.
Festival coordinator Kopi Iubu said the Hiri Moale Festival was a celebration of the return of the Motu Koita men after a long voyage to and from the Gulf villages, exchanging clay pots for sago during the time of food shortage.
There are actually two traditional items we showcase. One is currently taking place, is the Hiri Hanenamo. The second one will be the welcoming of the Lagatoi. Our third national language came about because of this Hiri trade. You see, the Kerma speak a different language, the Motuans speak, but when they joined it, it became the Hiri Motu, and that is our third national language. We're trying to get the Hiri Moale Festival to be a national event, and hopefully after this we will do a formal submission to the Minister for National Events, the Honorable Justin Pachenko, to include Hiri Moale Festival as a national event, so we get direct funding from there.
The final judging will take place on Friday and the winners will be announced on Saturday at Ella Beach. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
About 8,000 members of the Manus Savings and Loan Society have seen their savings grow following the introduction of new banking software provided under the partnership between the Manus Provincial Administration and the Australian government. These members will receive for the first time interest payments in December this year. MSLS's transaction records were at least 5 months behind before the new bank soft system was introduced. The Manus Provincial Administration established the Village Finance Scheme in 2010. It now has 94 village accounts holding about 307,000 kina in combined deposits. And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3155 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3080, $0.4014 Australian dollars, $0.2711 euro, and 30.75 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa, and copper closed the day lower. Palm oil closed lower, crude oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 131.0 points lower, the ASX is trading at 0.6 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 0.15 points lower. Stories making headlines overseas. When we return, stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton will square off tomorrow in their first presidential debate. As in the past, U.S. presidential candidates have stumbled in their first debate and never recover.
Kennedy versus Nixon, exactly 56 years ago.
The things that Senator Kennedy
The first televised presidential debate in American history and an instant historic lesson in what to do.
Which point of view and which party do we want to lead the United States?
And what not to do.
Mr. Nixon, would you like to comment on that statement? I have no comment.
Richard Nixon was shifty-eyed and sweaty, coming across as a nervous wreck next to calm, cool John Kennedy. It was a turning point for JFK's campaign.
President Ford, would you like to respond?
In 1976, President Gerald Ford agreed to the first debate since the Nixon debacle and made his own epic mistake that helped cost him the election to Jimmy Carter.
There is no Soviet domination of Eastern Europe. And
that was flat wrong and immediately diminished Ford's stature.
An emphasis on catastrophic.
Over the years, candidates better understood the impact of TV debates, but it still didn't always go as planned. Some first debates turned out to be the beginning of the end of a campaign, especially when a moment fed into pre-existing doubts. In 2000, Vice President Al Gore repeatedly let out sighs as George W. Bush was speaking. For many watching, Gore came across as rude and dismissive. In 1988, Mike Dukakis made it through his first debate, but his second go at it was a disaster.
Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor an irrevocable death penalty for the killer?
No, I don't, Bernard, and I think you know that I've opposed the death penalty during all of my life. I don't see any evidence that it's a deterrent. And
Dukakis's antiseptic policy response, instead of a human one, was a campaign and political career ender.
We have a question right
And who can forget President George H.W. Bush caught on camera looking at his watch in 1992, coming across as disengaged and out of touch, precisely how Bill Clinton had been trying to paint him. Not all debate debacles kill the campaign. Just last cycle, Barack Obama choked big time in his first face-off with Mitt Romney. But Obama was able to redeem himself in later debates.
there you go again.
Ronald Reagan's first debate performance in his re-election bid was also a flop.
In balance. I hope
Reagan rebounded with debate number 2 with a prepared line delivered perfectly.
I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Inside Syria, the bombing and fighting showed no sign of letting up. Syrian government forces, backed by Russia, have once again bombed the city of Aleppo. Activists say the airstrikes killed at least 85 people.
At the same time, world powers argued over how to stop the violence at a United Nations Security Council meeting. Russia says bringing peace is almost impossible, and there's a lot of finger-pointing. Russia and Syria blame the US for the collapse of the ceasefire after a coalition airstrike killed Syrian troops last week. The US accuses Russia of barbarism in Syria.
Instead of pursuing peace, Russia and Assad make war. Instead of helping get life-saving aid to civilians, Russia and Assad are bombing the humanitarian convoys, hospitals, and first responders who are trying desperately to keep people alive. Russia will argue today, no doubt, that these attacks are meant to fight terrorism, and that the people killed in this offensive are terrorists or terrorist sympathizers. This is absurd.
Perhaps we should stop accusing people who are coming from politicians who say that they have the best interests of the Syrian people in their minds. If they want negotiations, then they should go back to those foreign capitals where they disagreed with this earlier.
Trading hubs like Dubai, Singapore and Hong Kong are well known. But what about Fujairah? It's not as famous, but the rulers of this coastal emirates have big plans. If they have it their way, it will become a world-class shipping center.
Up close and personal with a 1,000-foot-long supertanker in the Arabian Sea. The Kelly, with a capacity of 2 million barrels, is calling on what was the sleepy port of Fujairah.
Did we catch any vessels crossing today?
From the control tower, Harbor Master Captain Tamer Masood monitors a flotilla of tankers hovering offshore, represented by the dots on the screen. The emirate is leveraging its prime position, 70 nautical miles south of the Strait of Hormuz, the world's busiest oil shipping lane, to create a strategic energy hub. Captain Musa Murad has been on the front line of its build-out for 3 decades.
Did you ever think you'd get to this scale?
Not at all, not at all. I mean, we are just tiny port. We thought just we're going to serve our trader here.
The loading of a supertanker is a major milestone for the rulers of Fujairah. They launched their plan during the first Gulf War, seeing a long line of tankers parked outside the port due to conflict.
It gives a comfort level also, psychological comfort level, which is as important as the economic value.
Because of its strategic location.
Because of its strategic location.
I think the capacity to be able to bring in this kind of vessel fully laden, so this is going to be the deepest port in the Middle East, gives it yet another dimension to this growing storage hub.
All told, over $5.5 billion have been spent here. Money allocated during the heady days of $100 oil.
Being able to host supertankers is the final piece of the puzzle for Fujairah. It already stores nearly 60 million barrels on shore, and it receives oil via pipeline from neighboring Abu Dhabi.
Fujairah has emerged as the 3rd largest energy hub after Singapore and Rotterdam.
We are looking, I think, with this facility to compete internationally, because there is also aspiration to build a second.
This is the UAE version of doubling down on investment to secure market share.
Today, onshore storage tanks are bursting at the seams with a global glut of some 3 billion barrels. So supertankers like the Kelly are loading up and coming offshore as storage.
Now they can do so right in the heart of the world's oil belt.
And back home, PNG's tourism sector was given international exposure on the second day of the Looking PNG Now Expo. The expo has 40 exhibitors from around the country showcasing their products to international agents, with Solomon Islands as the first international country to participate. PNG Tourism Promotion Authority Chief Executive Jerry Agus says the expo is an opportunity for local tourism operators to exhibit their products without having to travel overseas for international markets.
The second day of the expo was an opportunity for the exhibitors to showcase their products to international travel trade agents from various organizations.
Most of the time, our industry members are all over the place, and once every year we bring them together, and that's the time that we also bring our international marketing reps. Tourism Promotion Authority as offices in US, China, Japan, UK, Germany, plus Australia. And we ask our representatives to come to this expo. And when they come, they bring along with them those travel agents and wholesalers that sells Papua New Guinea as the desired tourism destination.
The expo is a platform for local tourism operators to showcase and network their products to a wider audience. This is the fourth year of the expo with a bigger number of exhibitors. The expo has 41 exhibitors with 26 international agents who attended today's expo.
Up 10 different agents from Australia, so they either come from a fishing background, a diving background or a culture background. So we brought them up here today so they could meet all of the other operators and really get a better understanding of all of how everyone works, and it's a great way for them to meet everybody in one place. And then tomorrow we'll be taking them out to Rabaul, and they'll be out in Rabaul for the next few days experiencing the fishing and the diving and the culture. Quite a big marketing push for the 75th anniversary. Kokoda is very important to Australians. We have such a rich history of Papua New Guineans in regards to Kokoda, so it's really important that we get the messaging out there for the 75th anniversary. So we're planning to do quite a big campaign in Australia, so we'll be starting that very shortly.
Majority of the exhibitors are members of the PNG Tourism Association. The expo is also a lead-up to World Tourism Day that will be held tomorrow. It is an initiative by the United Nations World Tourism Organization. The year's theme is Tourism for All, Promoting Universal Accessibility. Marilyn Diaukatam, National, EMTV News.
Chukai Sports is next. Telecom support for the Under-20 Women's Football World Cup, and English says thank you to PNG. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. Telecom PNG have joined hands with FIFA's global partners in supporting the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup 2016. In a presentation and signing today between FIFA's Executive Vice President David Chung and Telecom CEO Michael Donnelly, the telecommunications company committed 1.5 million kina in support through various infrastructure throughout the tournament. Jeremy Mogi with more.
With only 47 days remaining until the commencement of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup, Telecom PNG joined other local sponsors in support of the tournament. Witnessed by a small audience at Telecom headquarters and with FIFA Executive Vice President David Chung present, the agreement sees Telecom as a national supporter of the event. The agreement will see the PNG company offer telecommunication support throughout the tournament, with its usage to continue after the competition in much the same legacy as when Port Moresby hosted the Pacific Games in 2015. Telecom Chief Executive Officer Michael Donnelly saying the company was committed to supporting and growing football in Papua New Guinea.
Building infrastructure to host the games,
And from Telecom's point of view, everything that we are spending will remain after the games to support soccer and other sports using some of those venues around the country. So for us, it's a good investment. It's an investment in the game. It's an investment in the event itself, but it's also an investment in the infrastructure for Papua New Guinea.
FIFA Executive Vice President David Chung encouraging other local businesses in the country to join the bandwagon.
We're just over 1 million kina, If you were to compare the expense of them building that brand globally, it will be huge. So it's a golden opportunity for them, not only to build their brands, but to be part of PNG. It's been proud that we are hosting this World Cup.
Telecom PNG are now the official providers of communication services to the tournament and will assist the local organizing committee in delivering a world event to world-class standards. Jeremy Moggy, National, EMTV Sports.
Australian Prime Minister's 13 Captain Greg Inglis thanked PNG for his unforgettable experience in the country. He said he felt like a rock star as soon as he stepped out of the Jacksons International Airport last week Thursday.
He was amazed after receiving a rock star welcome at the airport, saying he was surprised at the way the fans reacted.
A bit humid. No, it was yeah, like I said before, I wanted to come up here and enjoy the experience, and I wanted to come up here and play footy.
That wasn't the last of it, as the chanting of his name continued all throughout their short stay in the country. Even after the match on Saturday, people lined up outside the stadium to catch their last glimpse of the superstar. It was his first time in the country, and he thanked PNG for their continuous support during their short stay.
Yeah, mate, my experience over here has been unbelievable. Rocking up here today and walking out in the field and watching the 16s play, and then, I don't think they watched a little bit of it, but, just to the crowd again, thank you very much for welcoming us over here. It's a great community.
He spoke highly of the facilities at the National Football Stadium, saying it is NRL standard.
The facilities here is outstanding. I came here with open minded. It's the first time here. Came here with open minded, and like I said, the facility here is great.
When asked if he would visit PNG again, this is what he had to say.
Come back again. Wait and see. Hopefully I'm in the finals.
Elijah Levitt, National, EMTV Sports.
In the NRL preliminary finals over the weekend, the Cronulla Sharks have made history, defeating the 2015 Premiers North Queensland Cowboys 32 points to 20. The win secures them a grand final spot after missing out for almost 21 years. The Sharks will face Melbourne Storms in the 2016 NRL Premiership decider this Sunday.
Paul Gallen's hope of seeing his team Cronulla Sharks make the 2016 season their year to reign is one game away from affirmation. The Cronulla side will meet rival Storms in the NRL Grand Final this Sunday. Holding the top spot on the ladder and all focused on the Premiership title, Melbourne Storms have proved themselves to be the greater team on Saturday night when they stormed away with a winning finish of 14 points to 12 victory against Canberra Raiders. Though the Raiders were classed as the best defensive team of the season, it was not enough to hold off the Storm. The clash this Sunday is a must-see match as underdog Sharks meet a much more superior side, the Melbourne Storms. Dini Rose Raiko, National, EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In basketball, the 3-day Under-18 Basketball National Championship will begin this Wednesday with round-robin matches. These matches will continue on till Thursday. A nominated total of 9 men's and 5 women's teams will take part in this tournament. The grand final on Friday will coincide with finalized selections and announcement of the PNG Under-18 national squad, and they will travel to Fiji for the Oceania Championship in December. 14 participants with various career backgrounds attended a 3-day Oceania Sports Educator program as part of upskilling their knowledge of sports. PNG High Performance Sports Director Aaron Alsop said the aim of the program is to keep all master sports educators aware of changes in sporting rules and regulations. He said this will allow them to impart the knowledge to others and put into practice their skills.
The High Performance Centre, in partnership with the Oceania Sports Educator Program and PNG Olympics Committee, carried a 3-day educator program to upskill master sports educators. The competency-based program is encouraged to allow participants to then, after the course, go out and teach others the skills they've learnt. With the course being hosted second time and first by the High Performance Sports, participants will be able to use the skills in future events and be able to play a role in their community as sports educators.
We can facilitate learning in the participants in a way that they're walking away with competency in a set of skills that they're able to be better at. So in this case here, we were running an educator's course. Like I was taught, it's about how do we facilitate the learning for them to be good communicators, good presenters, so that they're actually providing that information to the participants, but we know through the competency-based assessment that they've actually got the competency and the skills.
He said this course is one way of creating educators in the country who can one day teach others and keep the cycle moving.
I guess the accreditation process of the educators to be authorised to deliver the coaching course, so the CCO, or the sport administration course, the SIC. And the opportunities for people in the community, whether it's teachers, whether it's community coaches, provincial level administrators, volunteers, parents, anyone to be involved in those sort of streams of education. And our role as master educators or educators is to ensure that we at least do 2 of these a year in order for us to stay relevant. It's important that we stay current in the way that we facilitate the learning.
4 participants who took part in the course today were from Special Olympics PNG. Kodbineki, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, mostly fine in all centers. In the Momase region, mostly fine in all centers. New Guinea Islands region, fine with a shower or 2 in Lorengau and Kimbe, few showers in Kavieng and thundery showers in Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine, then scattered morning fog in all centers. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema, to Yule Island to Hood Point, including Finchafen through Vitia Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island and Karkar Island. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema, to Yule Island to Hood Point, seas of 2 to 3 meters. Waters east of Hood Point to Samarai Island with waters of Medang to Bogia, to Wewak to Aitape, to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of New Island to New Britain to Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. And waters of Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, CC Islands to Long Island, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea. Seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight with east to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots with gusts. Bismarck Sea, seas slight with southeast to east winds at 10 to 15 knots with gusts. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with northeast to northeast to winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. With doing with Dulux.
Now recapping our main stories for tonight. Fiji trade delegation in town to resolve trade impasse. A call to train more PNG eye doctors, and Hiri Queen crowning this weekend in this year's Hiri Moale Festival. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Helen Seah. Pleasant viewing. Good night.